Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of Fact Sheet live on ATV, live on NISIM 95.9 and 100.1 in Bogatanga and Tamale, also live on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Tonight on Fact Sheet, I'd like to showcase my reading prowess, and then after that, I'll attempt some poetry, and then I'll introduce my guest to you and we'll set the ball rolling with our conversation. Deserts too have their rivers, entombed from birth in earth, waters mightier than voters, lie hid from glare of sun and winds that dry, roofed not by sky, but rocks which do not always hold these run their unwitnessed course to their unwitnessed end. Without a sound, they gush into bowels of seas, far, far away from the unaided human eye. If you cannot see my tears, it does not mean I do not cry. And this is a poem titled Desert Rivers that I'm reading from one of the inspirational poems. That's volume 4 of 4, translated into 15 Ghanaian languages, and it's written by a popular, renowned surgeon, renowned columnist, essayist, philanthropist. Tonight on Fact Sheet, I am privileged to be speaking to Professor Lade Wosornu. It's going to be an exciting conversation because it delves into his life as a surgeon. It delves into why he decided, of all the other arts, he would delve into poetry. And so if you want to know who the man Lade Wosornu is, I'd urge you to stay with me, even as we take a short breather. We'll be right back. My name is Samuel Eshen. And you're welcome back to Fact Sheet live on ETV, live on NISIM 95.9 and 100.1, also live on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I encourage you to join us on Facebook, share the link to groups, platforms that you might be on, so others may also get to understand how a medical doctor branched into poetry and the literary arts. Tonight, once again, I'm privileged to be speaking to Professor Lade Wosornu. Sir, good evening and thanks so much for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this privilege.
I'm hoping you're doing well today, sir.
Yes, by grace, yes.
So I
Thank
would
you.
like to begin the conversation by allowing for our viewers to have an understanding of who you are. If the name Lade Wosornu is mentioned, who are you?
I was telling you at the beginning of this meeting that Mr. Shan is going to be an interrogator, and you assured me that it will be far from being an interrogator.
Indeed.
It's a privilege to tell colleagues and also your esteemed viewers that the name is Lade Wosornu, as you have said it, and I'm a Ghanaian. The tribe to which I belong are the Ebe tribe, and I come from a village called Galusota. That's where my mother comes from, in the Volta region, South Tongo region. My father from Jobova. Okay. I went to school in the village to start with, and then I went to Adan for the continuation of a primary school, in the boarding school, followed by the Adan Presby Boys Boarding School. Then I went to Presec, Odumase.
Okay.
From Odumase, I continued to St. Augustine's from a sixth form. And after the sixth form, I grew wings. I went to Scotland for my training, education in medicine. And then from there, I returned home to Ghana and to teach in the medical school. Later on, I went to Zambia, from Zambia to Saudi Arabia, and then back to Ho, and eventually back to Ghana. So this is the trips that I went through, like the Flying Dutchman, you might say, in my professional life. Okay? Fine. Thank you very much indeed.
I could figure out we have a common trait somewhere along your history.
Okay.
Because I also went to St. Augustine's College.
All right. All
yes,
right.
and so I'm also an Absunian.
All right. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
So let's talk about medicine. How many years have you practiced?
How many years have I practiced medicine? Well, I qualified in the year 1963. And it could be said that I practiced up to the year 2014. Between 63 and 2014, I was in medicine, in the field of medicine. I was a surgeon and a professor of surgery. Therefore, I went into teaching, as the name implies. And later on, I combined all that with quality management in education. So assessment, you are doing fact sheets. So that is also my field of interest. Thank you.
Interesting. So let's talk about, as a young man growing up, what drove you to want to go into medicine?
The young ones who are listening to this program will take note that my father was a herbalist, you see, and it was when he came to our village one day, he said, "Oh, this one is going to be a doctor." And apparently, when I was a child, I very much liked things that had to do with healing and so on. My dad used to show me herbs and say, "This will do that, that will do that, that will do that, that." And so apparently, when I was young, still I started using that dissecting frogs. And one day I saw one of my cousins with a wound, actually a sore, an ulcer in the leg, which wasn't healing. So I told my mother, let's cut some skin and put on it to stop it to heal quickly. He said, where did you get that idea from? I said, I don't know, but I think if you do that, it will heal.
Yeah, yeah.
So that trend was been there for some time.
Interesting.
Yes.
In the practice of medicine over the years, what did you find fascinating with the number of people you met and the number of people you interacted with? What did you find fascinating about medicine?
What did I find fascinating about medicine? Actually, I found, to me, it was such a natural thing to do. And I found myself wanting to serve my patients rather than anything else. I remember very well when, in those days when I came back first to Kolibu, and let's say a man or a patient come to the ward, having been neglected, come after he's been to herbalists there, traditionalists there, and so on. So they often came with the late complications. And then, some of the students so will be cross with them for coming so late. I found myself rather kneeling in front of the patient. So, Fofonia, look at the Chimagbalaro. Papa Mabochaneke, Meja Adana Wacha say. And then people find it that quite interesting.
Yeah.
And I found that I could communicate with the patient in their own language as far as I could help. So I found that interacting with the patient in the manner which you have become the server of the patient, it was very, very useful.
Now, there's that interesting blend of your history that's seeing your dad practice as a herbal practitioner, and then you growing up to become a medical doctor, and cases are brought to you, and these cases are being referred from herbal practitioners to your outfit. It brings me to today, where herbal medicine sometimes is looked down upon by medical or traditional or orthodox practitioners who see that herbal practice somehow, some way, is not the way to go for patients who come to them. Does this in any way shape your mind?
Yes. Let me tell you a story which might be of value to all of you. There was a time when a patient was brought to my ward, having been involved in an accident at home. She had a burn. And then she's a very pretty woman. And then when she told me that, I should let my husband know that I'm here. So she said, who's your husband? So he said, he's actually the chief of a particular place in the north of Ghana.
Okay.
So we let him know, and the following day he came. They said, oh, my wife has got a burn. I said, yes. Said, all right. Would you allow me to treat it with my medicine, native medicine? I said, most certainly, yes, I will. So they said, all right, I'll bring the medicine to you. I want you to listen very carefully to this because I see that the Ghana Postgraduate College of Physicians and Surgeons are urging the young ones to do original research. And this is how I got a research project which was unsought, but it was given to me on a silver platter. So the man said, yes, I'll bring you the medication. So, and I said, I will use the medication on one condition. He said, what is the condition? The lady had burn on the back of both thighs. So I said, I'll apply your medication on the left, on the right side, and mine on the left side. So I said, no problem. Let's do that. So he explained to me how to use his medication. I want you to listen very carefully. He said, when the sun is about high, then take it out and apply it with a feather. You apply it gently, and the following morning, but anything which forms there, don't scrape it off. Just reapply this medication on top of it again. I said, all right, we'll do that. And at that time, a new topical application has emerged in medicine.
Okay.
So I was going to compare and contrast the native medicine and the Western medicine. To cut a long story short, his side healed faster, better than outside, and healed without a scar.
Wow.
Yes, same degree of burns, same depth of burns, same extent of burns. But applying his medication was better than ours. Pictures were taken, and I think the articles were published.
Wow.
So, when you have a chance to, you are in your facts finding, that's the name of your program, isn't it?
Yes, fact sheet.
Test it, verify it. You'll be amazed to the thing that you discover. Thank you very much
With
indeed.
this experience of yours, does it therefore then bother you when it seems like we are throwing away our own native, herbal medicine, and all we are resorting to in quotes is the Western medicine?
The word you use is very, very dear. We are throwing away. You'll be amazed to think that we are throwing away. The first thing we are throwing away is our very identity. Who is a Ghanaian if you don't speak a Ghanaian language? Who is a Ghanaian when you can't dance Malungo or can't dance? We are throwing away our culture. We are throwing away our language. We are throwing away the things that we value. And we are exchanging them for things that we are importing because our minds are being enslaved, captured. I'll plead with the young ones that please go back to your roots and kneel at least listen to the elders and see what they have to offer. It will amaze you and test it. You are fact finding. That's the name of your program, right?
Yes, fact sheet.
Test it fast.
Fact sheet.
A fact sheet. Establish a fact sheet on whatever information you have and test it scientifically. Test it. Thank you.
Now, you're asking for us to retrace our steps and go back to our roots, and you're referencing the youth. But does our educational system allow for this to happen, seeing that we are taught in foreign language and we are supposed to understand what we're being taught even in our local languages? And that's a problem because our school system only focuses attention on English.
That is the origin of this book that you read the poem from. As you can see, it was inspired by the Ghana Bureau of Ghana Languages under the support of the UNESCO. The UNESCO leader was very much a part of this, and they harvested 11 of my poems, translated in 15 Ghanaian languages, because the Ghana mother tongue is being sponsored and championed by UNESCO.
Okay.
Quite honestly, we should learn to make that the primary language of communication. And some of us, not just us, people like Anido who has been talking about this thing, he wants the languages to be even incorporated even in exit exams, including the BA exit exams at university. Apente has been saying the same thing. And then the Ghana Cultural Bureau, they've been talking about this all along. but we do not value our language. We don't value it. We have devalued it. So if you value it, it will be high up on the education agenda. The other thing we are losing is that if you are instructed or you learn your own mother tongue, it facilitates how you acquire other languages, other foreign languages. You learn them quicker and you can master them better than if you don't speak your own mother tongue. They're scientifically proven in the fact sheet to demonstrate that.
I find it curious that it would take UNESCO
Yeah.
to be interested in the translation of poems into our local language.
Yes.
When the government must be interested, when state institutions and agencies must be interested, but it takes, for want of a better word, a foreign agency to be interested in translating poems into our local dialect. Is that not where the problem lies?
Well, that's not for me to say. As a citizen of this our beloved country, it breaks my heart that many Ghanaian children don't speak the mother tongue. This book, as you can see, has a message from the rep of the head office UNESCO, Abdurrahman Diallo. It has a foreword written by the Bureau of Ghana Languages, which was signed by the man in charge of it, and also another written by Nana Kwesi John Appentang. He has input there. The views of Nidoho has been spoken about already. So this book was supposed to have been available for adoption. I don't want to promote that, but for other people to decide where to use it. So that when you use Ghanaian languages, the poems are available, which have been translated into it. But let's go further back to J.B. Dankwa. He was writing both Twi and English. He was a master of both, with equal mastery of both the Twi and the English.
Wow.
Yes. One day, if we have a chance, we'll give you a lecture on that one.
Interesting. But the question about globalization and the world becoming a global village also pops up. The internet is here. And so what is happening maybe some 1,000 kilometers from here, I'm able to see and know in an instant because of the internet. Are we not downplaying the relevance of globalization and this talk about retracing our steps?
Yeah. This is where you can blend the two. There are some very important people in the University of Languages in Winneba. And they are interested in actually using the computers to facilitate the teaching of the Ghanaian languages in primary schools. And it has been suggested that AI, this notorious AI, can also be pressed into action, into work, to help us translate simultaneously in Ghanaian languages for other students, to the pupils to pick up. So that if I'm in let's say the north, and I can speak only Ebe and English, but I have to teach them in their local language. If I speak one lesson in the English, can translate it immediately into various languages for the children to hear using AI. So this suggestion has been tested. Hopefully, it had to be funded to make it happen, because getting the teachers is a problem. But this is where parents come in. If parents could please I'm pleading with them now, go the mile to make sure that children speak a mother tongue at home. That would be very helpful.
Is there even a desire to want to learn a mother tongue? Because now it's about your ability to fluently speak the English language. And that's what makes you sound intelligent. That's how you are seen to be a clever individual. Is there an interest?
Well, that is where it becomes unfortunate. That's the only word I can use. And we are competing in a world where economics, money matter. So it's the advantage of those who are supporting English, that we are speaking English, neglecting our own language. They produce for you the content in English, they produce for you the books in English, but so long as you don't bother them, they'll do that for you. But if we want to do it so that we can produce our own, then we can do that. But it's up to the parent to know that you are denying your child, a child which is programmed by the genes to become a giant, will become a cretin, a dwarf, because you didn't learn your mother tongue when you was a toddler. Could so flow in the mother tongue, you give him fluency and mastery of other languages better. They are better to solve problems easier, they have mental flexibility, and they even diseases, you can resist them more than the one who had monolingual environments. And this is being fact sheet proven. It's evidence based. Thank you.
I'm happy I'm having this conversation with you, because then I'm thinking about the very mouthful medical terminologies
Uh-huh.
and jargons. And I'm thinking and asking myself, if I am a medical doctor and there's a disease that I'm supposed to treat and it's being taught in the classroom, these are scientific terminologies and names. How do I mention them in Twi, in Ga, in Ever for my students?
Masasa crow. Ewa cry, yen cry.
Ɛnyɛ den
And
koraa.
yes, and yeah, I seem to Trubia. It's easily done.
Okay,
We can anglicize it a little bit,
okay,
and then with time becomes the norm.
okay.
You don't have to kwashoko. They imported kwashoko. Kwashoko is a gun word,
Yeah.
but it found its way into English. The English are very comfortable to imbibe other languages, Latin, French, Gan, and so on. It becomes norm. It finds its way to Oxford English Dictionary, and there it is. Kwashoko is a good example. When you say kwashoko in the Birmingham, they know what kwashoko is.
Yeah.
But they don't bother about the origins of it. So you can also say yours. If you know yours in a language anyway, but it's will know it from English. So it's very easy to adapt and modify and import the new terminology, new language, and embed it in yours so that you have expanded vocabulary as well. That's how languages grow.
I'm thinking about why a man so deep in the field of medicine will suddenly be known so much for poetry, for essays, and for the articles you've written. At what point did you notice that you had a flair for writing poems?
The how does one begin this thing? Let's begin from pre-sec, I think. We shall begin from pre-sec. When you were in pre-sec, we had to read and read and read. I remember we were taught by trained teachers, so they came from Cropon Training College to present to teach us, be it history, geography, Latin, mathematics, and so on. And they were such disciplined teachers. They taught us about reading around the subject, read widely and read deeply around the subject, and read. Even used to read the Sunday Observer, which I get in 1 week in arrears in our library. And those of us who were keen in reading, a few names are in this book I'll share with you momentarily, we are compelled to read. I found that I was enjoying the reading. I learned that earlier on when I was elementary school. So it was all there to read. Okay, so there we were in St. Augustine's, our common school. And because we were told that because we're not strictly speaking with the Roman Catholics, we cannot go to service with them when they are in service. When that time came, I went to the woods. Remember, I had some beautiful trees there, the flame of the forest and so on, and to look into the trees and listen to the birds singing and watch the birds closely. That was when my love with nature began to emerge. But it had begun earlier when I saw a sunset when I was about 6 years old, mucking around, chasing birds with a caterpillar, with a catapult, thinking I didn't shoot anything, but just mucking around. And I saw the sun setting. It was a twilight. I said, Dada, Mama, Grandma, what has happened to the sun? So she said, oh, when you go, the sun has broken a pot of oil. Can it be more poetic?
Yeah.
To break a pot of oil with all the colors, the violet, the yellows, the green, everything was there in the twilight. So the love of nature started a long, long time ago. Okay. So I found that when I was in the Form 3, I had to take my cousin to work, to look for work in the labor exchange. I had to queue there for him where he was queuing. So the following day, I took with me the book we are reading is Form 3, Shakespeare's Hamlet.
Okay.
And I read the waves. When he was in the queue, I go to the beach at the labor exchange, reading the poem, reading the book. When I went back to Presec, I had committed the whole thing into memory without realizing that. I had to make a choice between art maths or literature when to Form 4 because I was going to do the science stream.
Yeah.
And I wept because I had to let go of literature.
Yeah.
I was that passionate with it. So it was like that. I couldn't let it go, but I had to stop and put it on hold and do something else, finish the course in medicine, and then re-embrace my passion in writing.
We are taking a breather. When we come back, we would like to find out how you were able to fuse medicine with the literary arts. And then again, whether you'd encourage others to also do the same,
course.
and whether it's profitable being a poet. We'll take a breather. We'll be right back. And you're welcome back to Fact Sheet live on ETV, live on NISIM 95.9 and 100.1. I am taking advantage of the opportunity I had to sit with Professor Lade Wosornu to read some poem. And this one is titled The Master Brewer.
Ah, yes, yes.
And it says, there is distillery in our brains. Its cane and malt, its hops and grains are the stuff lives are made of. Blizzard or snow, bushfire or drought, matches won by a penalty shootout, fortunes lost by the toss of a coin. Over these and their like, you are no doyen. The fuel for this distillery is your emotions. Willy-nilly, you stoke the fire as you vent your spleen, and another drum drifts into the vat unseen. The master brewer is not the stars, nor yet the gods. Prof, where do these words come from?
Oh, dear. Oh. I said what? It continues that he's you, your very self. The final brew has no choice. It must be bitter bile or sweet honey. But you can choose the magic potion which you have saved the taste. Your intentions, recollections, your reactions. That is the master brewer. Where do these words come from? As I can imagine that creators of new things, of poetry, drama, prose, dance, music, and so on, you can be said there are two main types. Those who think they are creating it, and those of us who know that we are just recipients.
Okay.
That this is prepared elsewhere, passed through us, and we just transcribe. I remember very well I took Eukai in this very house when I shall read to you that episode in a minute, came to make a poetry recital that night. He said, well, no, the follow. And the Akan, only the Enyekwa. Toya Manya Nuzunyo, Nana Langchi. Oh, no, the follow. That's what he said at the very beginning. At that time, I didn't quite understand what he meant. But now I know. For example, if you look at this poem, this book, the first one, on the last page 51 is the one that you read, the Desert Rivers.
Yes.
In 1995, that was when the book was published. That poem was fast-tracked into this collection. It happened at one Homo War festival time. when we were in the house of my in-laws. And I found myself just wanting to start saying a few things. And then Madame said, "Oh, you want to write something, don't you? But my copy and my back paper, I'll bring pen and paper."
Yeah.
So she did. And I finished. If you cannot see my tears, it doesn't mean I do not cry. Then I stopped talking. Oh, Bena. Okay. Oh, have you finished? Oh, Bena. That's how this poem was created.
Wow.
Given Homo War Festival, there we were, and it came. So that's how most, nearly all my writing comes to me unbidden from the Creator Himself. That's what I can always say, with all humility. In the follow. Thank
So
you.
a thought just hit me. So you are at the facility, maybe at a medical facility. There are patients in front of you or waiting for you, and then it drops. A poem drops, an idea drops. How do you fuse that with your profession as a surgeon?
Oh, you see this book, Aspects of Health Education for Every Man. When you have a chance to see the genesis of this book, you'll find that there were the presentations to the radio doctor to the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation over several years. These presentations or these scripts were written when I'm being driven from Kolebu to GBC.
Okay.
On the way there, the ideas will come prepared and ready to be captured and presented. Or at dawn, if I knew, I could have shown you my diaries, where this is recorded in the diary. At dawn, come and knock on the door, stand up and write. You come writing in the diaries. Then there came a period of meditation,
Okay.
which, as you know, simply means learning to silence your mind, learning to listen to nothing, learning to transcend the consciousness. And the man who taught me that was a Buddhist.
Okay.
He gave me a diary. He said, "Lade Sahib, always keep this diary with you. Whenever any thoughts come to you, jot them down. You never know what will happen. With this, only God knows." So I started jotting down the thoughts that would come to me. Most of them were in prose mode, a handful were in poetry mode. That's how it happened. Thank you.
Interesting. Interesting. So explain this one to me, the one which I just read, because I see the brain, which obviously would be
My
in your
medical background,
in your
yes.
medical background.
Yes,
Then I see nature as well, the bushfires and the drought
yes,
also in there. Then before I could say Jack, we were on the football pitch
yes,
because we're talking penalty shootout.
yes,
And then it brings us, I see some medical terms there, the spleen and all also
yes,
in there. Then there's a brewery.
yes.
And then finally, reactions, emotions,
And recollections,
collections,
yes,
and more.
yes.
What does it mean?
Oh, it simply says that you are in control of only a few things. The few things that you are in control of yourself are your intentions, the idea that come to you, what you plan to do, your intention. You're also in control of what you choose to remember, the skeletons or the velvet with which you use to fill up your cupboard is for you to select. You can choose to remember hurt, or you can use to remember joy. It's up to you. You have that choice. And then you can also, your reaction, you can control that. If you spit my face just now, I'll say, "Oh, Sam, my odeng." Or I can spit back into your face.
Yeah.
That's my reaction.
Yeah.
You are not in control of anything else. The results of action is not in your control. The future is not in your control. The past is gone, it's not in your control. Only what you plan to do, what you choose to remember, how you to react. So, make it beautiful. You toss a coin, for something happens, there's a shootout, you lose the match, let it be. So this how it's telling you that you are, and it's on the star, so you are the master of yourself. You are in charge of those three things: your intentions, your recollections and your reactions, period.
Take a short breather, and then we'll be back. And when we come back, we would go through some of these books, and then we'll try to make sense of them.
Yes.
So stay with us. And you're welcome back from that short break. We continue our conversation with Professor Lade Wosornu. If you just join us, we are talking about his life, his beliefs, and where he wishes Ghana would be tomorrow. So, Prof, there is a salient question I need to ask. What is poetry? I haven't asked that question. It's very important. What is poetry? What is its relevance?
I'm not qualified to answer that question because your program talked about fact.
Fact. Fact sheet.
Traction, yeah. I'm not qualified to answer that question.
Okay.
I'm not trained as a poet. I didn't go to classes as a poet. I just found myself given those, I gave the origins of the words that I write. I wish I could have shown you the diary of how quickly I write. Could you let me see one of the diaries, please? How these are done. So I don't think I'm qualified to answer that question. No, I will not answer that. I don't know.
But what's the relevance of poetry in our lives?
The relevance of poetry in our lives.
Yeah.
Again, you have to ask those others who are professional in the field. For me, to whom it is a passion. I don't live by it. I don't depend on what I write for a living. In fact, I haven't made any money with things that I write. No, because I'm a surgeon and a teacher of surgeons. So I think about the ways of earning my bread and my kenke and I can manage that from another source. Now, poetry, as you know, it can be enjoyed when you listen to it. You can reflect on it and think about it, and it can give you some wisdom. And it can also relate to your roots. It's widely connected. Historical relevance is there. Traditional relevance is there. And some people either like it or you love it. Others get bored by poetry and then they get excited by it. Okay, I happen to be, just by chance, the opportunity that I can blend quite comfortably with poetry and also blend comfortably with science. It's not unique. There's so many others like that. And Wale, the current Secretary General of POWER, Pan African Writers Association, he's both a physician, a surgeon, and a poet, and a renowned writer, and an accomplished politician, everything. So we tend to restrict ourselves. So it's a science stream, therefore you cannot do this. No. Now we are training people in STEAM, including arts, mathematics, everything together. So these artificial divisions must stop. Give the child a chance to float in the environment and see which one he likes. They may like all of them. Let them be.
Well, you see, and spot my gaze because I am enjoying the conversation. But when we came in for the conversation, I could see that you had intentionally arranged these books in a certain manner.
Yes.
Is there some importance to how these books have been arranged?
Yes. They were arranged chronological order. This is the first one. This is the first one. Aspects of health dedication for every man.
Okay.
It's one thing I found useful is try and make the output of a particular project the raw material for the next. Make the output of a project the raw material or the input for the next. The output for the radio doctor was the written text recorded broadcast. That's the output. That became the raw material for this book.
Okay.
And same thing about the poems. I wrote the memory of my mother, recited here when she died. That was the output of that particular piece of information. Became the raw material for this thing, and so on. So this is the first one, 1977, followed by a T. Then this one, again, the product of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. The end product became the raw material for this one. Followed by the Journey Without End, which became adopted by the Ghana Education Service. You can see the flag of the Ghana nation on that one, because it was when others, by chance, discovered this book. And I remember Mrs. Champong of Presec and the colleagues who were in the University of Science and Technology who adopted this book and was recommended for WAEC. That is how the poems became known. The Master Broy was one. The Reader of Treasure Trove and so on were adopted. This one is another one which followed this. Then this is a purely scientific book, and this is the same thing. That's the same thing. Now this one is a reflection of meditation that I told you about, the God in every child. Okay. Now this is purely medical terms. There it is. Welcome to wellness. And then finally, this is the work of the Bureau of Ghana Languages.
Okay.
They championed it, supported by UNESCO, and this was produced, waiting to be adopted by a Ghana Education Service. Thank you.
Interesting. Would I be fair to describe you
Yes.
as a religious man? Would I be fair to describe you as a religious man?
Religion is a very divisive thing. I would say a spiritual man that I would identify with quite comfortably. And yes, that I identify with quite comfortably. And let me just show you, if I may, if I can find it. That is not here. I'm looking for the signature of my teacher, my guru. It's not here, but no problem. Yeah, this is how those who want to see it, you can have a look at it. I write the thing.
The idea drops.
We can see the flow. The flow non-stop.
Wow.
It's not anything that this 1977. It just flows. And you have to write them down. In those days, I didn't have a PC, so I was using my pen and writing them. So these are another one. So as you can see, I wish I could show you the Desert Rivers, its origins, as you can see.
Wow.
That's where it works.
Wow. Now, I had to ask that question about faith because of this book, In Search of God in Every Child. Because if you read the back, it talks about the fact that it is remarkable the way the author draws on knowledge, not only from his profession, but also from the Bible, Quran, and Gita, if I got
the backward guitar.
All right. So that's what compelled me to ask you about faith, philosophy, and all. But you've explained that you'd rather not go with religion, but rather
It's too divisive.
person.
It's too divisive.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about you as a poet. You've already stated that it's not as if you make some money out of it. But there are people whose main livelihood is that of being a poet. That's all we know them for. Does it pay for those who are practicing it as their main profession?
Oh, so I'm going to ask them.
But you, by virtue of proximity, you interact with them. You talk to them, and so they will tell you, either the frustrations of printing a book, either the frustrations of getting people to buy, and all of that. Do they share these with you?
You need to ask them. All I do know is that they are very helpful to me.
Okay.
They enlarge the ring. And I've mentioned already Jangba Hakmarusu Ajiman, the former governor of the Bank of Ghana, former ambassador J. Laye, Atuke Okai, and so on, Vincent Okuno, and all of them enlarged the ring and accepted the new one. So it's by nature of the poets, the genuine poets, the ring is it's infinite. So it can be enlarged. Please, let's hear what you have to say. Let's hear what Lade also have to say. Yes, enlarge the ring.
This is a country where, but for your mention of steam, what we hear in the media is STEM.
Oh, that's primitive. Excuse me, it's primitive.
Why so?
It's primitive. STEAM is the way to go. Include arts, include mathematics, include science, include technology, all of that at the beginning. Oh,
But they say, the advocates and proponents of STEM say that it is the sciences which allow for the industrialization we are talking about.
that's narrow-minded. Extremely narrow-minded and totally, what's the word I need now? Oh, it's narrow-minded. It doesn't take into account the flexibility of human mind. The Greeks, for example, the god Apollo was the god for poetry and medicine together. And they would use poetry to heal, and vice versa. Here we are drawing lines because that's what we're conditioned to do, and then we're embracing it. In our old times, our traditionalists and herbalists will use songs to teach people about medicine, using poetry and dance and music to do it. How?
I am imagining a viewer who
I'm
is
sorry, I'm getting a little
really
bit emotional about this. Yeah.
I'm imagining a viewer and a listener who is saying to himself, you know, when you mention Apollo, that these are mythologies that, you know, we hear about. As to their realities is another matter. Are these not myths?
Okay, I'll tell you about Dankwa, J.B. Dankwa.
Okay, tell me about him.
I had the good fortune by the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences to prepare and deliver the 2020 Ghana Dankwa Memorial Lecture. And I was helped a great deal by a young man called Ampofo. And he gave me a book called J.B. Dankwa, A Man of Many Parts, which just recently published in 2019. In that book, Dankwa talked about his unfinished business. And then I discovered that he was really a man of many parts. How? He was comfortable with research, quoting all the rules of research, all the statistics, analysis, and so on, even though he was a lawyer. Talking about poetry, talking about writing the poems, talking about writing prose and dancing prose. That is the English version of it. Do the same thing in the tree, beautiful tree, Akan tree, and talking about health and wellness, Dankwao. And then the current leadership, Henrietta Mensambusu, will tell you that no one profession has the monopoly of the knowledge in that field. So, a scientist and mathematician can be comfortable in literature, and someone teaching, let's say, tree, can be quite comfortable with religion. So, these restrictions and narrowing and things, we create them. Ignore Apollo. Come nearer home. Go to Dankwa.
Prof, forgive me for my last but one question.
Okay.
But so far, since we've been reading, well, my guy is suspect. And so I haven't read anything in any other language. But are you able, my Dagbani to suspect, but are you able to recite any of these poems?
I can read them.
I'd love to.
That to be in volume 2.
Okay.
Volume 2 are difficult. Just a second.
Yeah.
Volume 1, 3, volume 2. Yeah, then the bani yes. Mahla but when I said got no pamana kind of gun.
The problem is coming.
Oh, Darby, this is no problem. You can see the other one. The man in the other Abana Tobo le Jogwapahali would Zotso Odingba Fuma Ahu Papoli aya fofo ma dia fi ma o wo dzo tapa to apubuo afata na fijiwo novi no nya ba ma po na rachiola ma fi ba ni ma fa vio novi ma po na rachiola ma fi ba ni ma fa vio you say he had a novi my brother or my sister if you cannot see my tears that's not me I do not cry. That's the Herbal version. I skipped some of the lines, but I'm not able to read it in this mode quietly, but I can speak it. My tanto baba, my country, man vegan, man to andang mulo.
Where do you see poetry, the future? Where do you see poetry?
It's unending. It's unending. There will always be poetry in any community. I wouldn't say it's even civil. Any community, there will be also poets. And literacy is coming in. People are able to reading right now. But my only plea is that let us read to write in our own mother tongue because it has so many advantages which we are losing track of. My plea is that, yes, let us value our mother tongue. Let us demonstrate our acceptance of that one. Let us use it in the education. Let the Ghana Education Service use it, and the parents insist on that one. Let's find this way right up to the civil service, right up to university level, so that you value your mother tongue. Thank you.
Prof, we're ending the conversation. The youth are watching and they are listening as well. Your final words to them.
This poem is called the Final Liberation. I shoot the rapids of life, glide off the cliffs at dawn, and surf the thermals at dusk. If you would ride roller coaster, stick around. If not, bail out now. I light further on landing strip, no longer hostage the sweet tremors of procreation. I let go lightly what others prize. I savor mint on solo flight, without feeling cast away. I cherish solace in solitude, without craving bon voyage. Betting my soul on this knowledge, every gain is loss, every loss gain. I dance to tunes of glory, barefoot on the ambers of fortune. No longer scared of terminal darkness, I see the Father of final light. And here the last stanza. To be in love with everyone, but expect not from any man. God sufficient by my sunset. Now that is the final liberation. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. So this has been a very fruitful conversation with Professor Lade Wosornu. We've talked about his life, and I'm hoping that at the end of the day, you'd pick something from our conversation, especially to those at the Ministry of Education and then the Ghana Education Service. The local language must be taught at all levels, and it must be
valued.
of importance to us as a people. My name is Samuel Shen. On behalf of the crew, which made it possible, I'd like to thank you for being a part of the show tonight. Have a blessed evening.